everybody. Thank you for coming today. This is the Performance Studies Club. It's our third event of the season so far. This is our first happening. So we've got some individuals coming in and performing outside of the Performance Studies Club. Just wanted to either do a piece that they had from their class or just a piece that they made specifically for this event. So at this point, if I could get you all to take out your phones, iPods, computers, whatever, make sure they're all silenced or off. Also, I hope you'll notice we have some feedback sheets, and most of the seats here, some seats didn't have them. Well, we weren't quite sure how many chairs we were going to have, so we didn't print out as many. But if you are at one of the chairs that do not have the feedback sheet, we would like you to grab one of those from one of the empty seats, just and fill that out. That is going to be the record keeping for your attendance here, given to your professors if you're here for extra credit. It also gives us a little bit of feedback, just knowing what you thought of the performances, what you liked, what you didn't like, what made you think a little bit. Other than that, we're good. So, quick little introduction for those of you who this might be your first performance studies event. We are amateurs. Every single one of us here is an amateur. We are all just trying to make sense of college and doing it through performance. So that's where we're at right now. So throughout our performances tonight, there may be individuals who call for line, who just, like I said, we're all amateurs. We all need to have a little preparation. That's what we've got people on book for these individuals. So don't think anything of it. Just allow the performer just a moment to collect themselves and get back into the performance. But we're going to start things off tonight with my personal friend, David Alexander, who's going to talk to us all about the problem.
You see, the problem with hearing voices in your head is that you lose the certainty of knowing which thoughts are your own. No, no, no. The problem with seeing people who don't actually exist is that he begins to question if that strangely dressed young man in his anthropology class is really a registered student or just a figment of his imagination. The problem with being someone like him who has to see and hear all the sights and sounds of a world that does not inherently exist is that even though he is never technically alone, he is always more alone than anyone will ever know. The real problem is that my biggest threat is not the man in full plate armor standing on this stage with me right now, whose name, by the way, is Gary. You can all say hi to Gary if you want. Gary, say hi back. Well, he's not going to because he's shy and does not really exist, so it doesn't matter what his opinion is. No, my biggest threat is that kid at the back of the classroom right now who's going through some really scary shit and thinks that violence is the answer. Because he thinks, like I used to, that if you just kill Gary, you won't have to deal with the problem anymore, right? The problem is that all I want to do is yell at the people who talk around in my mind or are filling the corners of the room or are on the stage with me that the Renaissance Festival ended fucking months ago and these fuckers need to go home. Because I want to tell them, and don't ask me how I know this, but Renaissance Festival costumes only get worse in rental prices the longer you keep them. And these guys have been around for 4.5 years. And I don't see them making money anywhere because all they do is follow me around all day, unless there's an evil mastermind among one of you, or among one of me, who's paying them a wage to follow me around all day. That would explain the mysterious charge in my account every 2 weeks. Damn it, talk about a self-destructive tendency. The real problem with having a mental illness is that all too often we don't just laugh about the absurd shit that happens to us every day. For instance, my problem is I have 33 followers who aren't on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, or anywhere else that it might matter. They are literally here in this room having followed me here tonight. Yeah, the problem used to be that seeing stuff that isn't really there used to be really scary. More so now my problem is that I get called out in the middle of a class for laughing in the middle of a lecture because I can't tell the professor that the truth is. I just saw a man appear on the table next to them standing on their laptop acting like he doesn't know how to get down. Or that there's a man who's been circling the walls of the room, hugging them like he's way too high, and thinks that if he lets go of that wall, he's going to float off into the middle of class somewhere. I can't say that hilarious shit because then the professor will discredit me and all of my fellow peers will see me as the crazy kid in class. No, my problem isn't that mental illness is really scary, tough, and life-changing, though it is. My problem is more that we focus on the negative too much. We think too much about the really big problems. And a wise man once told me that if we would only focus on the little things one at a time and solve those, the really big issues wouldn't seem so big anymore. My problem isn't the mental illness. My problem is the other shit I have to deal with every day. The real problem is that some teachers seem to think that memorization improves comprehension and that busy work is acceptable to assign. I have shit to do. I can't study for 10 hours and have 6 assignments to do every day on top of a job, even though I don't work and live off the government's money, because it does pay to be severely disabled if you know how to rig the system. No, my real problem is that whenever I go home, my parents like to point out that I've been single my whole life, and they're all too keen to point out that my brother has had 4 girlfriends, but they're not keen enough to notice that I've had 2 long-term girlfriends in the time it took him to fail 4. And I've also dated 6 other women, and they're also not keen enough to notice that I used to attend sex and love addiction support groups every Saturday. Because the problem isn't that I'm single. The problem is that I've sold these people the idea that I've never felt love when I've had it more times than they'll ever know. Because the real problem for someone like me, who has a very inactive love life, is that all the really good-looking girls will still go out with a guy like Donald Trump because he's got all the money. Because it just doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Because the problem isn't all the problems that the experts will tell you or that society sees. The problem isn't the problem. The problem is how we deal with it. Thank you. Littering is also a problem.
Thank you, David. Now, one thing I would like to point out too was that these feedback sheets are going to be collected at the end. So if you leave during the intermission, which will happen after our 5th performance, we will not be accepting them for credit. So that is just for future references. But next up, we have Paige Verknis, the vice president of our club, my partner in crime, who's going to be performing a piece of her own original poetry. Yes, you can.
Just ignore the knocking. We have people that like to sing a little later than they should be. Alright, those that just came in, welcome to the Performance Studies event of the season. Please make sure your phones are off. Alright, again, I'm Paige Verknis, and this is my little poetry piece about somebody very close to me. I am who I am because of you. You've impacted my soul, you have made me whole. I am who I am because of you. You have changed me, your intriguing thoughts actually drive me quite mad. But without you, there is no me. In that regard, I would be forever sad. You challenged me, you forced me to look at the wrong. Feminism, what the fuck is that? Rhetorical thinking, critical thinking? Who are you to ask these questions? I am who I am because of you. You make me see the world through various lenses. Without you, I would be so much less pleasant. Look at you, making me ask who. Above all, thank you for being you. You make me mad, you make me cry, you make me feel so alive. Thank you for being you. Though you irk me in some kind of way, I will say, you're there with me through it all. I know you're in it for the long haul. Let us continue on this unknown path and tackle all the future aftermath. Thank you for being gay. Thank you for being naughty. Thank you for challenging our shitty society. Thank you for teaching me to question our social standards. You encourage me, you love me, you check me, you hug me. You have assisted in creating who I am in this world. You have forced me to take this wall down, brick by fucking brick. You told me it's okay to feel emotions, always reminding me that I will survive, that I will survive and thrive. Running on this communication high, oh my, oh my. And forevermore, I will always be grateful that our souls have interlaced. Dylan Milky, above all, thank you for being you. You make me mad, you make me cry, you make me feel so alive. Thank you for being you. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige, for performing that piece about one of your best friends. So next up, we've got McKenna with her piece, To Be a Millennial.
Okay.
You know you're a millennial when you check your text messages more than you actually send one. Your nights are spent binging old sitcoms and hoping that cute guy from your history class isn't ghosting you on purpose. You know you're a millennial when you remember the days of Blockbuster and VHSs, a time before an invitation to Netflix and chill became a booty call in disguise. You know you're a millennial when you remember the demise of MySpace and the rise of the Zuckerberg dynasty. You first learned economics from a game called Farmville and grew up being told that you had to watch what you said on the internet because it would come back and ruin your life. You know you're a millennial when you've been criticized by Gen Xers and baby boomers for being too sensitive, unsociable, and lazy. You know you're a millennial when you've witnessed an epidemic of mass shootings, you've been sexually harassed on your way to class, tortured by bullies with blank faces, drowned in your own mental illness, or had to explain to your little sister what cancer was. I'm a millennial, and I've admitted that I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life, because the fact is the price of college has gone up by 500% since 1982. I'm a millennial, and the length of my skirt shouldn't get to decide whether I have a fun time out with friends or the worst night of my life. I'm a millennial, and I shouldn't have to look over my shoulder every 2 feet on the way to the gym. I'm a millennial, and I've run out of ways to convince my friends that their weight is just a number, that they are perfect the way they are, that they don't need to stick their heads in toilets to be beautiful. I'm a millennial, and I am sick and tired of becoming just another statistic of my generation. Our ambition may resemble naivete, but we are just trying to fix the world as it crumbles around us. You tell us that we're a generation with trust issues, but fail to realize that we are living with the possibility we won't make it home from school today. We're forced to grow up fast in a never-changing world where today's news becomes yesterday's fad in a matter of seconds. So yeah, we may be selfish, egotistical, dramatic, or too addicted to our phones, but look at all the shit we've had to deal with that you haven't. Thank you.
Thank you, McKenna. That was awesome. Up next, we have Aly Koning with her piece titled Date Night.
Oh, you do want that? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Wednesday's our date night. Since my partner and I are both in grad school, we actually have to plan out when we're going to spend time together. And so we switch every other Wednesday. Kyle's in charge of the one Wednesday, I'm in charge of the next, and we switch. And we do things like make dinner, drink wine, and answer the 36 questions of love. And sometimes we head down to Beaver Island, have a beer, and have a super weird philosophical talk on anything, really. And sometimes we go out on long walks in minus 20-degree weather because we both just really need to escape our tiny studio apartment. And some date nights are better than others, you know. Some of them are very emotionally engaging and well-connected, and others are just chill and relaxing, hanging out, reading books. But they all serve their own importance. There's one date night that really has got me thinking. So, today in class, we were talking about CTE and marriage and family therapy, and of course, spokesman for all athletes. Everyone asked me what I thought about it, you know, because of football and everything. And after the conversation rose about head trauma, they asked me how many times I thought I'd been hit in the head. I guessed 600. I thought that that was a fair guess, you know, with practices and games and everything. But you know how I go off on like those weird tangents in my head? I got so curious about how many times I've gotten hit in the head. So I crunched the numbers, you know, plays, practices, games. The number was 3,255. Aly, I've been hit in the head 3,255 times, and I'm just telling you that I hope I can remember who you are when I'm 40. And I need you to promise me that when I die, you'll donate my brain to science. Yeah. Some date nights are better than others. According to protectthebrain.org, CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is a progressive degenerative disease that affects the brain of people who have suffered repeated concussions and traumatic brain injuries that do not show immediate effects. The most common symptoms include memory loss, erratic behavior, impaired judgment, behavioral disturbances including aggression and depression, and an early onset of dementia. The condition has so far only been diagnosed in a post-mortem examination of the brain. And my mind started to race because I didn't know what to think, and I don't know what to think, and it happened. I cry, wondering why this would happen to me, and it's not just me, it's us and our family, and it won't stop. The tears rolling down my face drop on the floor because you get me at my core, and it's supposed to be fun. I grew up loving football, but now, fuck that, I am done. I don't know what to be, and you gave me this ring, and we were supposed to make us a thing. I don't want to be temporary, that's too fucking scary. It's forever because I know that you remember that day in December when you asked me to marry you, and now you expect me to bury you? Yeah. I promise I'll see it through. I'll donate your brain while I grieve in pain because I love you, and it's not just you, and it's not just me, it's us. My identity is in flux. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aly. And now our last performance before our short little intermission is going to be Dom with his piece, Live on Life.
That is who I am now. Identity. What is identity? Is it something that we discover? Something that we can find? Have you ever heard that stupid saying that everyone tells you? If you don't know who you are, just go outside and look for yourself. You know what I think about that? Fuck that. Because if I could go outside and look for myself, I wouldn't have to have an identity crisis when I was 10. And indulge with 50 pills of aspirins and a bottle of Coke when I was 12, which ended up in me being in a hospital for 2 weeks, having 3 tubes, 1 down my throat and 2 up my arm. Going through a dialysis process of cleansing my blood from the poison that was going into my body. All over what? Identity? Because people were telling me that I can't be like my parents or my sister, who were all wonderful communicators. Just because when I was 12 I was diagnosed with category 4 social anxiety and category 3 glossophobia. Does that mean that that is all that is up for me in my life? To not be able to look up and speak to people, to be beneath my family? That is identity. What is that? That's what we say it is. But it is not. Identity, what are you? You're so dark, yet you show me the light. You're so significant, yet very much defied. When will you show me the way? Will I ever see the way? Will God show me the way? I don't know. Identity is something that most people don't get an idea about. It is so simple, yet made so sophisticated. It is that one thing in life that makes us who we are, but often shone upon, not cared about, just said in a manner that is so simple that you can't always discover who you are. You just need to go out and look for it. Fuck you. That's not true. Just like that, one day I stood up, telling myself, I am done. I don't want to have this crisis. I want to know who I am, but I can't just go outside and climb up a mountain that every other Indian out there would say, you know, you go up the mountain, you sit there for 3 hours, worship God, and He'll come down there and show you, it's my son, this is your identity. God. Never happened. When I was 13, I had that leap to be an MC for a little child's event. I did it. I liked it. But just like now, this is how I spoke the entire night. I felt shy. I couldn't look up. But that one event showed me if you really want to find who you are, you have to walk what I call the miracle mile. What is that miracle mile? It is that one step that you need to take in order to pursue the next path. Complaining, whining, being stupid like me, swallowing pills, it's not going to make you find your identity. You're just going to end up in the grave like everyone else out there who gives up. I will never give up until I find myself. 15 years old, after going for therapy for speech anxiety and glossophobia, I went for speech class to learn how to speak. I started to now work as a freelance MC. 16 years old, I got my first contract to work in a club as a club MC. I liked it. I had a good time. And everyone who was there was only telling me that you are faking yourself. You can never be a good speaker. So I said, okay, that's what you say. But I pursued on that miracle mile. I pushed forward, picking out one piece at a time, discovering who I am, building my journey ahead. Because the one thing I can tell you about identity is you can't find it. Anyone who tells you that, tell them to turn around, walk the other direction, and never speak to you ever again. Because the only thing that they're going to give you is not a piece of advice, but the end of your life. How's it going? Having fun? Yeah, me too. This is who I am. I didn't find my identity, I built it. Identity is like a blade. Any of you play RPG games out here? You know, yeah, alright, cool, awesome. Alright, I see you, my friend over there. You look like you're smiling, I see you. Don't worry. So, identity is like this blade in a game that you play. In order to get the best blade, the strongest blade out there, you have to go out, kill that dragon, get the items, and go to the blacksmith and carve the blade, right? And upgrade it, stuff like that. You are that blade. That blade is you. You are that tiny little metal block that turns to this super sharp sword that's going to cut off someone's head. I mean, I would do that. Maybe not. I'm still thinking about it. So, we are just like that blade. And that piece of block, that is our identity. It takes time. You can't go outside, take a walk, do drugs and something because you're going to give up on yourself. No, you don't do that. You take that piece of block, you take that hammer, and you hammer it down until one day you look back. You look to your left, you look to your right, and you know who I was becoming, and who I am now. Last year I got a tattoo on my body. I know most of you can't see that clearly, but it's a sun with the word written in Mandarin, patience. Patience is what brought me here in my life today. Many of us don't have patience. We choose not to have it because, oh, it takes too long, I can't wait so long, I'm going to get old and die. You're going to die eventually, so why not just take that bit of time, right? Patience is a virtue. Identity is a part of you. If you don't have patience, you will never find your identity. You have to first discover yourself, research upon yourself, then build your identity. And once you have built it, you need to fortify it, because if you don't fortify it, it will just sweep off your feet, and you'll go, bye-bye, see you never, adios kimosabe, I don't need you. I always tell people, Just like this little middle line right here. The path will never be straight. It will look straight, but it will never be straight. You will have nooks and corners. You'll climb up a hill. If you have to climb it, you meet a wall, you break it. Can't break it, I don't know, get a C4 and put it there and bomb it, I don't care. Do anything you can to build your identity, because that is what makes you who you are. Not him, not her, not your mom, not your dad, not your stupid ass friends out there who are going to tell you that you will never be who you are, which I had. No. You, all of you. You make who you are. And no one can steal that from you, and no one should steal that from you. I'm not asking you to be like me. I'm asking you to be yourself. Don't be like someone else. Identity is a part of you, and patience should be a part of you. May your identity forever be in your forgery. Thank you.
Alrighty, folks, we're back at it again. We've got our second half performances here before our talkback session and tonight. To start with the second half, we have Taylor Lee who will be performing her poetic response to the book Citizen by Claudia Rankine.
Why? Why do we all have to be the same? No one is ever exactly alike. We are individuals. We see different. We think different. We experience things different. We are different. So why do we have to be the same? To be in harmony, to comply or to defy is all up to I and my choice of conformity. The price of equality shouldn't be conformity. I think the reward of conformity is everybody likes you except yourself. You look around, only you remain. The wrong words enter your day like a bad egg in your mouth and puke runs down your blouse. I do not have to agree. I do not have to see. All I want is to be me, with no pressure of conformity. What feels more than feelings? Do feelings lose their feeling if they speak to a lack of feeling? My feelings, my emotions, do not mean nothing. They are proof that I mean something, something so much more than you choose to see. Does that make me a bitch to not want to switch? I'm not going to fold into this mold of this perfect chick. I don't want to contour and highlight size 0 and stilettos. Why not let my natural glow show? Strut my stuff in my flats. My messy bun fits me swell as well. Perfect painted nails would just hide these stress-bitten nails. But it never fails. To be pushed, to be prodded, to be this perfect blonde-haired, blue-eyed chick, this gem, will I say, to hell with them. To be teased, to be laughed at, is paralyzing, yet destabilizing. One big misunderstanding. Who says what is right, what is wrong, what goes and doesn't go? What is normal? Who sets the standards of normal? Is it you or you? Because I sure as hell know it isn't me. Yesterday will be forgotten, but today I feel great. Great about who I am, even in this puke-covered blouse. I do not have to comply. If this is going to be an issue, let me get you a tissue, because all you're going to be saying is goodbye. Thank you.
So what Taylor just gave was kind of a pre-performance for what she's going to be giving in her CMST 310 Performance and Literature class. Next up, we have Elsie, who is going to be performing her autoethnography from a previous 310 class on citizenship. So please let's welcome.
Number 0985-20787. I don't know what it means to be a citizen. I mean, who wakes up and thinks, what's a citizen? I was born and raised in Togo, a small country in West Africa, and that's where my roots are. I am fluent in 5 languages. Je parle français. I grew up with my aunts and my uncle who instilled in me the value of education. My uncle told me, you can be anything, do anything you want, as long as they align with your values. But no matter what you do, make sure you're the best at it. So, to me that meant loving what I do every day in order to do it well. And when I came here in the land of opportunities, when everything was possible, I was determined to be my best. Number 0985-20787. July 6, 2006, my mother, my brother, and I got on the plane to the United States of America. I was about 13 years old. I wasn't sure why we were moving and I didn't really want to go. But I was promised a better life, a safer life. So I had this picture in my mind of what America looks like. The roads were made of gold, the buildings higher than any bird could fly, everything smelled like roses. Oh, there's no dirt in America. I mean, I could always dress in white. I would go to the mall and hang out after school, and when it snowed, I made one of those snow angels things, you know, like in the movies. Number 0985-207-87. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has a different definition of what success means, but health, wealth, and happiness. Pretty much loving what you do every day, working to live and not living to work, you know, so yeah. I think everyone has a specific dream, but in general, health, wealth, and happiness. And, you know, I think with the right motivation and resources, you can achieve anything you really want to, if you put your mind to it. Number 0985-207-87. You can achieve anything you really want to if you set your mind to it. I mean, every teacher, every counselor has told me this. You can do anything, you can accomplish anything as long as you set your mind to it. And that's kind of confusing to me because sometimes, I mean, I work hard, I stay positive, but I feel like I'm always set back sometimes, and I wondered why. Then I understood my obstacles. The obstacles that is my black skin, the obstacle that is my accent, the obstacle that is my 230 pounds, the obstacle that is me. Maybe this ideal only works for a specific group of people, you know. Thinking about it, citizenship has a lot to do with who you are, your identity, who you are and where you belong. Number 0985-207-87. What makes the citizen? I guess having a driver's license, or some sort of ID, or paying taxes, voting, that's a big one. All the pressures on people to vote all the time, you know. I guess following the law and social norms are a big thing. You know, like respect and all those little stuff, like opening doors for people or being patient with people, or if you run to someone who's like, I'm trying to think. Responsibilities, I don't really know. Respecting cultures and not discriminating or like stigmatizing. I don't really think about it, and that's what stuff and all. Like, I don't consciously go around and think of what I do every day to affirm that. Number 09-85-207-87. Each year, more than 650,000 immigrants get citizenship through naturalization. On May 15, 2014, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 366-218-64. I guess it's official now. I belong to one of you. But in the process of gaining my citizenship, I had to renounce any affiliation to any other country. But what about my roots, my culture, my language, my food, my clothes? Do I renounce those too? Which parts do I keep and which do I let go of? But then on the other hand, I recognize all the privileges and rights and, you know, responsibilities that I have as a citizen. I mean, now I can vote, although my vote really doesn't count. But, I mean, I don't really have to worry about being deported or having borders closed on me or anything like that. But then again, there's always that fear of the unknown, you know? Like this summer, I have a friend who's an international student from Burundi, and he was studying abroad in Kenya and doing his internship, and he was stuck there for a few weeks, and he had to go through so many hoops just to get back into the country, and that sent him back a whole semester. So situations like this make me so grateful that even though it can suck being a black woman in America, because of number 366-218-64, I have privileges that other people don't. Well, yeah, I guess having this sense of belongingness and privileges and also duties that, like behaving like a citizen, you know, feeling like you're welcome, feeling like you're welcome and, you know, you belong, or being part of any organization or committee, or just having any affiliation with any group in your community, in your city, or even your state. And for me, that was sports. Like when I was in high school, it made me feel like I belonged. Number 366-218-64. If I'm being honest though, I still don't know what it means to be a citizen. I mean, I have this and it's official, but now what? What do I belong to? Where do I actually belong? And when I go back to Togo, would I still fit in because I've been Americanized? In this anti-climate of immigrants like me, foreigners like me, seek protection through citizenship. We want to have this to feel a sense of belongingness. Yet I still struggle with where I belong. I mean, I feel like I'm too white to be black, too black to be African, and too African to be white. So what does it mean to be a citizen? Number 36621. I believe that citizenship is not only just a number or this piece of paper that affirms where you belong. My citizenship is my identity. My citizenship is my black skin melanin in all its glory. My citizenship is my accent, the English that I speak, le français que je parle, avec bec me donna. My citizenship is the food that I eat. My citizenship is the way I move my hips, my feet, my hands to the beat of the drum. My citizenship is the clothes that I wear, the curls in my kinky, stubborn hair. My citizenship is #BlackGirlMagic. My citizenship is who I am and how I change the world with what makes me, me. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsie, so much. So next up, we have Taylor Hastings, who will be giving his rendition of David Bowie's Space Odyssey.
So, I'm gonna set up, but I'm gonna share what I do. So, why Space Odyssey, you wonder? Well, apart from being a really catchy tune, there's something deeply profound about it. I'm going to share. Contrary to popular belief, because a lot of people don't know this about me, I used to be a cynical asshole. I mean, it was bad. Like, really bad. I would judge everything about the world at every second of every day. And I didn't give a shit. It was like, what's the point? You know, who cares? You're gonna die. I had a father who left, a mother who did the same thing. People don't give a shit about you. But then, something weird happened a few years ago. I started this feeling thing. Really weird. And I realized something. Maybe if I wasn't so cynical, life might actually be worth it. So this little piece is my humblest of expressions, and I hope you enjoy it.
Ground control to make the time.
dream, be, do, breathe, experience. Don't be a curmudgeon like I was. I've been in school for 7 years. 7. Put up 8 because I'm and I've had a lot of different experiences, but I gotta say, life is good. Get up, because you're worth it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for that lovely rendition of Space Oddity. Last up, we have Cameron Smith, and he will be performing his piece called Shadow Boxing. And then after this, we will start with the talk back.
Every athlete has their own routine to get themselves ready for competition. For me as a basketball player, it was running through my post moves, gymnastics, VOB, apathy, the roots, hugging the ball like I was Tim Duncan. Boxers though, they get ready by shadow boxing, punching and jabbing at an invisible opponent to get their muscles warmed up and get their minds ready to fight. Sports in its purest form is perfection. A competition to see who is faster, stronger, better. Win or lose, you show respect to those you compete against. Perfect. But only when that purity is not maintained. My senior year of basketball was hell. It shouldn't have been. I was a team captain. I had good teammates that supported me, voted me teammate of the year. My game was a lot better than it had been the year before. So what went wrong? 6 words. 6 words that would plant seeds of doubt into my mind that wouldn't bloom into something beautiful, but instead would bloom into a shadow that I would spend years fighting off. Your attitude is destroying my team. Before one of my last home games my senior year, Coach starts bringing all of us seniors into the locker room one by one. As each of my teammates started coming back, they all had this somber look on their face. And when it was my turn, the first thing that came out of Coach's mouth was, "Your attitude is destroying my team." I hadn't even called out my character since I was 10 years old. I never had this issue with other parents, other teachers, or other coaches because I never wanted to cause problems. And earlier in the season, I came into the coach's office in tears, asking him how I can better help the team. Where was this coming from? I tried to defend myself, but all I'm thinking is, what is wrong with me? Am I really hurting the team? Remember how I said I won Teammate of the Year? At that awards banquet, when Coach is explaining this award, he calls me things like a team-first guy, an incredibly hard worker, and all I'm thinking is, who are you lying to? Me, the team, the parents, or you? Here I am being toyed with by a grown man into thinking there is something wrong with me, while he gets to throw it all away to the wayside like nothing. Here I am with anger and confusion, fighting against a shadow. And it's amazing to think about how that shadow still lingers steadily. In the end, my shadow only affected my mind. It never got to a point where it affected me physically. I'm lucky. It's not like I'm Todd Marinovich. Todd Marinovich, this college QB from the 90s, was raised to be the perfect athlete. When he was teething, he was given frozen livers and kidneys to chew on. When he was 10 years old, he was able to run 10 miles without stopping. His father, Marv, trained him day in and day out until he was one of the top QB recruits in the nation. The press heralded Todd as this robo QB. He was completely in the spotlight of the nation. But the closer you get to that spotlight, the greater shadows become. Todd said that he felt pressured by his father, said that he felt intimidated, and said that if I was performing well, then the entire mood of the family was nice and peaceful. But when I wasn't, it felt like everyone was on eggshells. How crazy is that? How crazy is it that a kid felt personally responsible for his family's happiness based on the way he played football? One day, Todd called his mother from college when he was struggling and said, "I don't want to be Todd Marinovich anymore." Shadow was starting to consume Todd. In this all-encompassing darkness, Todd felt incredibly alone, to a point where drugs were the only means of escape. It started off with marijuana, but then escalated to cocaine, which then escalated to LSD, heroin, and finally meth. Todd went on to go play arena football professionally, but not as a career, only as a means to get money for drugs. Todd said the thing that he struggled with most was the world's perception of him. He was raised to be this perfect athlete, and now everyone saw him as damaged goods. The facial expressions that people gave him, the comments of, "Oh, if I had your talent," or "you threw it all away," were the things that really brought down Todd. Like, all for a damn sport. No one cared about Todd Marinovich, the person. They only cared about Todd Marinovich, the QB. His own father cared more about the damn QB. The shadow of expectations can be suffocating. No longer are you fighting against a single shadow. You're fighting against darkness itself. What can be worse than being alone in darkness? It's simple, really. Being with someone in darkness. Being trapped with a monster who will prey upon you, attack you, and manipulate you while no one can see what's being done to you. Over the last 3 decades, for countless female athletes across the nation, the name of this monster was Larry Nassar. After working as a consultant for multiple gymnastics clubs and being the head athletic trainer of Michigan State University in USA Gymnastics, Nassar was able to molest and assault countless female athletes, even ones as young as 6 years old. When these young women went to go report Nassar to their coaches and their athletic directors, they were ignored. Larissa Boyce was 16 years old when she was first assaulted by Nassar at a Michigan State youth gymnastics camp. She tried to tell Kathy Plagues, the head coach of Michigan State, and she was ignored. She said she felt silenced and she wasn't going to talk anymore. Tiffany Thomas Lopez was a softball player at Michigan State and told an athletic trainer and an athletic supervisor that she was being assaulted by Nassar, and she was brushed off too, saying that the supervisor made her feel like she was crazy. Aly Raisman, a former gold medalist, was assaulted repeatedly during the 2012-2016 Olympics, as were Raisman's teammates. But Steve Penny cared more about the USA Gymnastics than he did about the well-being of these young girls. Raisman said Penny tried to control all of it, saying that he cared more about having a good Olympics. It's disgusting! come to this? How did it come to sports becoming a cottage industry for sexual and emotional abuse? How did professional adults let children get preyed upon, attacked, and assaulted by this monster? Kathy Clay should have protected her athletes like her own children, but she cast them into the shadows like nothing. USA Gymnastics should have handled Nassar immediately when they found out what was being done to these young women. But they cared more about winning a fucking medal than they did about the well-being of these women. Athletes are not robots. We're not soldiers. We're not tools. We're not objects. Why are we getting treated like this? Why? How do we stop being mistreated like this? How do we get out of the shadows? How? How? One sliver of light at a time. The way athletes get out of the shadows is one sliver of light at a time. My dad was afraid that I was never going to pick up a basketball after that season. He gave me the time that I needed to get away from the game, but then he started taking me to more than pick up basketball. No coach, no drills, just playing. Those pickup games helped me fall in love with the game of basketball again. One sliver of light at a time. I was also able to find enjoyment in other parts of my life. Singing, running, performing, drumming, my friends, my family. I had a greater appreciation for all of these things after that one hellish season. One sliver of light at a time. For Todd Marinovich, he was able to go to rehab where he would meet his future wife, Alex. Together they were able to lean on each other through their personal struggles. Not only that, but Todd's father was there to help him on the road to recovery as well. Now they connect through creating, appreciating, and examining artwork. One sliver of light at a time. For the victims of Larry Nassar, it may be more difficult to find the light. Even though he was sentenced to 175 years in prison, the impact that he had on these women's lives may never truly go away. But remember, one sliver of light at a time. Stuart Scott said before his passing in 2014, live, fight like hell, and when you get too tired to fight, then lay down and rest and let somebody else fight for you. That's where other athletes need to come. We need to be there for each other. We need to, create this team, this global community of athletes where we always have each other's backs. One sliver of light at a time. If we can do this for our brothers and our sisters across the globe, then we never have to fight against our own shadows. Thank you.
Now comes to everybody's favorite part of a performance event, the talkback session, where you get to ask questions to the performers that you saw tonight. So at this point, all of y'all could come up and find a spot on stage. We'll get some questions going. Does anybody have a question they'd like to start off with? Right here.
What are the specific guidelines or requirements for your pieces?
Well, I guess I'll answer this one. So basically it is open interpretation. Like tonight we had people with their own poems that they wrote. an individual, Taylor, he went and actually performed a musical piece by somebody else and just gave it his own interpretation. Really, performance study is about bridging the gap between performance, art, and contemplative examination and analysis of the text for more than what you get with just looking at face value. And that can come about in plenty of different results.
I just want to give you credit. I think it was hard for guys to talk about what happens to females, so I think it was really cool that as a guy you were able to stand there and talk about that.
Yeah, no, in the process of designing this, no, I was thinking about just thinking about me, but again, this is a low position. We have more and more now. Thanks to brave people being able to stand up for their rights, being able to stand up for others. And you know, when I was designing this with the goal of mind of advocacy, we need to be able to create a community, not just in sports. I mean, even though that was the topic of my performance, but all around, you know, creating that global community. It's, the more you identify with we instead of me, then that's how you create change.
Any other questions here? Tammy?
Could each of you talk about why perform? Why do this? Why would you do this? Why would you put yourself through getting up on stage and writing about your lives and crafting something? Why? What are you? Why would you do this?
I'm the graduate assistant for the club, so I'm go first. Basically, this is just. I just had a conversation earlier in the night, and it's so important for us to connect on a personal level with those political, social, emotional issues also. Like, we live in a society that is so complex. You have a different narrative than I do, but we both might experience that same situation. So how do we bring that together and critically think about how we live in the world? How do we take something that's happened to us? How do we take our fiance, probably not remembering who we are at 40, and transcend that to a larger sociocultural issue that then brings about discussion about each and everything that we all talked about tonight? How does that work with mental illness or sports or identity as a whole or being a millennial? Like, it's such a complex and interesting experience that we have to identify self, other, and context in a working system that it just, I could go on for days also. So yeah.
I decided to perform. I have actually 3 performance study classes this semester, and I was required to do a response on Citizen, and I had actually never written poetry ever. And when I actually came up with part of my result of my poem, I let a couple of people read it, and they were actually really surprised with what I came up with. And then I added some more, another bigger chunk, and then everybody liked it even more. And for being my first product and everybody liking it, it actually made me feel more comfortable to share. And just with the Performance Study Club and just the Performance Study classes in general being so welcoming and comfortable, it was a really great start for me to actually start here than it is for me to actually go and do the finished graded product in the end. But yeah, it was just really nice and comfortable to actually share what I had to say, and it actually fit really well that it was actually about identity and stuff like that. So my poem, all in all, fit really well with just what was going on today, and I felt comfortable.
Can somebody repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Why perform?
Why perform? Performance is something that
for one, it's reflexive. For those of you who haven't taken Tammy's classes yet, you'll learn all about that. Shameless plug. But you get to understand yourself in a way that you wouldn't normally think that you could. Secondarily, you understand the idea of somebody else and the way you conceptualize somebody else, and personally bringing it back to home here, I perform, specifically what I performed today, to kind of express that you can get out of being cynical, like terminally cynical. You can wake up and realize, hey, you're alive. It's damn good to be alive. So, yeah.
I think for me, the most important part of performance is the critical thinking, because it's easy to just put a story on the page and, because it is your story, most of it, So it's easy to just put that on the page, but when you have to go down within yourself and just critical, like how Taylor was saying, the reflection part of it, and you have to critically think about what it is that you're putting on that paper, the choice of words that you use, the choice of, whatever choices you use within that performance, how all those things come together and reflect your performance. So you perform to not only, for the critical thinking of it, but to tell your story and leave that to interpretation, like how Matt was saying earlier, and everybody to get a piece of that story in their own way, and your clear intention. So that makes sense.
A lot of people who know me, oh crap, I didn't think I was gonna cry. I had this down. I was like, yes. I do stuff like this in my free time. Like, this is what I do for a job at this point. And so when I get asked why I do this stuff, it's because for people who know me, the first 2 decades of my life were spent under pain and silence. So these performances and me speaking to people is how that person who suffered for so long gets to talk. Because he wasn't allowed to have a voice for so long. So this is sort of me honoring that person and just saying, they existed, they were there, and it didn't mean nothing. So, as mental illness for me is I get to see all of you who are wonderful people, but I also have 33 people who follow me around all day and just tell me nasty, terrible things who aren't really there. One of them was Gary on the stage tonight, which was added pretty much at that point. Because I just didn't want him to go unacknowledged. And all my mental illness tries to do, and the people that have harmed me throughout my life, they've only ever wanted me to be quiet. They don't want me to talk about what I go through, because then it puts the light on them, right? Then they have to take responsibility for what they've done, even if they're not really there. And so this is just my way of getting to sort of rant about it for however long and say, the shit matters. I get to talk, finally, so it's my way of speaking.
I don't follow that up. Performance has always been a stress relief for me. Like, I know that I can go out there and have a shitty day or have a bunch of homework and stuff with my family going on, and then I could come in here, or like in high school I was in theater, I could go there and I could just scream and yell on stage and everyone would be like, yep, okay. And then that could be it. I could go back and get my homework done or have a good night's sleep, because even nights that we had to come in and practice our performance, I'd leave and be like, oh my god, I can breathe now, with midterms coming up and all this shit going on in the world. I'm I got it out there, I got what I needed to say, and it's much better, I think, than a Facebook post where you can just type it all out, where you can actually say it and put your emotions into it and people can hear you and be like, yes, I feel that too.
Okay, why performance? Well, I can put it simply as this. Performance is me. It's become part of my identity. It has become what has kept me alive for the past 20 years of my life. From being someone who was going to give up, I found life through performance, working as an MC, doing public speaking, and I actually, back home in Malaysia, Malaysians, you know me, so I used to also do motivational speaking. I even help my therapist. I go as an alumni to help these people who do have social anxiety, because I know how they feel. It's that powerless feeling that kills you inside every day when you wake up and you have to look at people and they just give you that idiotic looking face and that eye being that, I know you suck. But when you get on that stage and you look at them and you are standing there and you look at them sitting down there, that sense of power that drives you up, it can change you. It changed me. It made me who I am today. So why performance? Because performance is me.
So I'm going into teaching. I'm going to be a high school teacher. Because the reason I got into wanting to study education was because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I wanted to help kids, just get the tools, help them on their path to success, whichever way that is, how to achieve this. And this performance studies has really helped me be uncomfortable. It's helped me learn how to handle tough issues, human issues. Every performance tonight was a human issue. And it's stuff that we all go through. We just either don't want to see it sometimes because it's hard, because it's painful sometimes. Like you said, it's not easy talking about sexual assault for women. Researching that was painful. But I feel going into teaching, I'm obligated to be able to touch on those things. Because I want to see a global community. I want to see people showing respect, showing courtesy, showing just benevolence to everybody else. I mean, it sounds like a pipe dream, but I know from just being in this environment that's possible. And I'm going to do everything in my power, even though it's painful, but I'm going to do everything in my power to try and make that happen.
I want to say something. So about sorry, just kind of cut it out. But the question is why to perform? Well, why not? To go off of what are the requirements? There really aren't any. It's just you. You get to be you, and you get to say what you want to say, and it's in a comfortable environment where it's no one's gonna boo you, no one's gonna say you're wrong, and it's just a comfortable environment to get you to say how you feel. And if you take tennis classes, you'll realize that the knowledge that you learn is your audience, they're most likely going to be able to relate to you in some way, and you're going to gain a connection in that way. So again, why not perform?
And I was excited. But there's also, there might not be requirements, but there's a sense of responsibility, because we all talk about different issues, and we can very well portray those issues in different ways that could be negative or demeaning or whatever that might be. So we all have this responsibility to be ethical in our choices to perform, so that would be a requirement of it. You have to be consciously responsible of what you perform on stage when you have that platform.
It's the quote from 410 on the first day. If you have poetry in you, if you have something to say, it's your duty to say it. You owe it to yourself and to everyone else for them to hear.
And going back to what else you were saying, it is about being ethical with it. With her performance in particular, it was for 310 performance in literature. If you noticed, when she was sitting in the chair in the front of the stage, that was not her. She was doing a persona of somebody she had interviewed in your class with a different perspective on citizenship. And that, along with everything else that we saw tonight, it just shows the different ways that you can perform. The topic for tonight was exploring identity. These are 8 different people. We had 9 different performances tonight, all on different ways of exploring identity in different fashions of doing it, from music to poetry to even just a classroom interview. We have so many different ways to explore ourselves, explore our identities, and performance just gives you a creative outlet for that. Are there any other questions or comments we want to make right now? Yeah.
So I'm taking the performance class now.
Can you
So
speak
I
up
want-
just a little bit louder?
Okay, so I'm taking the performance class and I want some advice for it. So how do you get the idea to use leaves or paper or work or your chair or something?
I was gonna say, one thing that helped me the most is you have to trust yourself and believe in yourself and in your choices, and you have to commit to them. So whatever you choose to do, just, you have to like follow that through and trust yourself, because like, I don't know how to, it makes sense when you just have to trust yourself. To me, that's my
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it.
I think another thing is like take the risk, like step out of your box. Like you may be comfortable doing just like the little simple things, but if you take the risk, it may not fit exactly, but it's the whole point of you actually taking that risk. And a lot of times it does fit and it goes well, and you stand out for it.
No, I'm like what you guys are saying is what Tammy's been saying. Like, go with the risk. Be confident about what you're doing because that's what's going to get you far.
Yeah, especially like, cause Matt mentioned, I did that performance in 310, and you know this stage, and I don't like, when I was doing the interview or even when I was crafting the script, it's not like I was, oh, let me move this way or do this. You have to find like ways to fit yourself in a responsible way into the script and craft it that way. But the thing that Lindsay, like the reason why we all did well today is because we trusted our choices and we stuck by it and we committed to it and we started it.
I just wanted to say you guys were great.
Oh, thank
I just wanted to ask, I mean, we learned a lot about like, I don't know, Dylan had said the other day we were talking about the classes and you described performance classes as a different kind of pedagogy. I feel like we could do a whole series on that. But what do you take away like the most? What's that thing that you always go out and like end up applying into your life once you do a performance, like in something as important as identity? How do you bring that outside of the performance and outside of the club and the classroom and bring it into your life?
What do you take away?
Yeah.
Confidence. No, it's true. Because like when I'm dancing, I'm very confident, right? But when I'm talking, I'm like, I don't know. Like I would be like, okay, I hope that makes sense at the end of everything that I say. But confidence is the biggest thing that I learned from taking 210 and now 410. So like, just like I say, it goes back to trusting myself. Like, I'm not a bad performer. I think I'm good, you know what I'm saying? But like, I have to be confident for that to work and translate for people to see. So that's what I take in every aspect of my life outside of this classroom.
Yeah, I think part of it too is, space on the question, one more time.
What's the takeaway? Like, how do you apply the stuff that you learn that's obviously meaningful that you perform?
So part of with creating a performance and performance studies program in the club and all the classes is that introspection, the analysis, the examination of your life, texts in your life that mean something to you to a different level, to a deeper level that you might not have earned or gathered, you know, through your normal daily life. When you go and you perform it, when you allow that text to, when you allow yourself to embody the text, when you allow yourself to become one with the text of sorts, you can understand it a little bit better. You can understand the person you're performing a little bit better. You can understand yourself a little bit better. That really is what it comes down to.
You figure out what you believe in pretty darn quick, because if you're going to commit to putting together a script, putting the time together to practice it, putting the thought and analysis into the motions, actions, things that you're doing, and then brave enough to stand in front of a group of people you don't know and be like, hey guys, I'm human, poke at all my weaknesses. You should probably believe in what you're saying. So you get a pretty clear idea about, you know, who you are through performance.
I think it leaves you like when you're up here, you know, in this circumstance, like you're in a pretty vulnerable state. You could have people say whatever they wanted to say, but like Elsie said, you have to come up here confident and own it, and naysayers, and that's them.
I just wanna, what she asked about the advice, you have to prep. Don't forget to prep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the most important part. Prep.
And come hang out with us during
Yeah.
our meeting time.
All your trust thing won't work if you don't prep it.
When are the meeting times?
Well, our meeting times are every Monday from 12 to 1 in Riverview Hall, room 106. And then right here in this room, every Wednesday night from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And this is really this Wednesday night time period is really for crafting performances, working with individuals who are working on their own performances. Then you can try everything. You can use every aspect of this room, from the blocks to the stools to the chairs to just the floor, whatever you need. You can use it all during that time.
I just wanted to say for the takeaway question, this makes me feel real. I have a lot of people up here who are talking all the time. I have meds that try to control them, but sometimes those don't work so well. And then they just show up on the performance night anyway, because they want to support me, I think. But it's, it makes me feel like I'm a real person, because then it's like I said, you get this voice. And in 410 and 310, you do an interview performance, and a lot of that for me was finding the voice of this other person and having to do that, because this space is about a dialogue. We talk about that a lot in performance studies. It's this person performing in front of you who's having this sort of one-sided conversation with you about something that's very important, whether it's to that persona or to the person who's actually speaking the words. This gives you something to become real to a group of people, because meaning isn't made alone. It happens between two parties, and right now you're the other party, and we're one.
I mean, I think Dom said it best, that you don't find your identity, you build it.
Yeah.
These classes help you build it. I mean, these classes touch on so many complex human, I love the word human during this time of craziness within society, because it's not a white issue, it's not a black issue, it's a human issue. We need to start seeing each other as humans. So.
I know I saw one hand up over there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, don't worry, you guys are doing your job correctly. Because, speaking from experience tonight, actually, I came here expecting okay, we're just gonna be reading their stories and just. No, you turned my whole worldview around. I'm saying this as a thank you, because you talked about special disabilities, because I have one. You talked about identity, and I'm having trouble with that. And you talked about a lot of subjects that honestly are hard to say, especially in front of a large group of people. And thank you. You are the voice. One of the voices, actually. But it's nice to hear that they're coming out.
Alrighty, folks. Well, we're going to end the night here. If we can get one final round of applause, please.